Election results. They're just numbers, right? Percentages, vote counts. But what if we look deeper? Behind every number, there's a person, a family, a village. Especially in a place like Thonoknyu in Nagaland. Every single vote there tells a story of hopes, of struggles. So this isn't about predicting who wins or loses. No, this is about using the data to really listen, to understand the people, and maybe, just maybe, build a blueprint for the kind of governance they're truly asking for.
So here's our roadmap. We'll start with the pulse of Thonoknyu itself. Then we'll decode what the 2023 election numbers really said. We'll look back at the history, assess the current strategic picture, and then build out a blueprint for governance and a clear path to earning back trust.
All right, let's begin. First stop, the pulse of Thonoknyu. Because you see, to understand any election, you first have to understand the soil and the people who work it.
So where are we? We're in Thonoknyu. It's a rural heartland in Nagaland's Nagaland district. This is tribal land, home to the Kimnyuwangan and Phom communities. Life here is tied to the soil, you know? The economy, the culture, it all comes from the land. Community bonds, tribal identity, these are incredibly strong. But there's something else that's strong here too. A feeling of being, well, very far away from the centers of power. And that isn't just a feeling. It's a reality they live with every single day. And look, when we talk about grievances, these aren't just bullet points on a slide. This is life. This is the daily friction. We're talking about roads that vanish into mud during the monsoon, leaving villages completely cut off. Power that comes and goes as it pleases. Imagine your child is sick, and the nearest proper hospital is a long, difficult journey away. You have young people, full of dreams, but where are the jobs? Where are the opportunities? And running through it all is this deep, powerful current, a need to protect their tribal rights, their identity, and a growing anger at corruption. This, right here, is the ground truth.
Okay, so with that reality in our minds, let's look at the numbers. It's time to decode the 2023 mandate and listen to what the voters were actually saying.
First things first, look at this. Just look at this number, 89.6%, almost 90% voter turnout. Think about that. In so many places, we celebrate hitting 60%. This tells you something absolutely critical about the people of Thonoknyu. They are not apathetic. They are deeply, deeply engaged. So the game here isn't mobilization. It's not about dragging people to the polling booth. No, it's about persuasion. It's about convincing an audience that is already listening very, very carefully. And what did they say in 2023? Well, their choice was crystal clear. This wasn't one of those messy, multi-cornered fights. It was a straight-up, two-way contest. The NPEP candidate took it home with a solid 56% of the vote. The NDPP got about 43.5%. That's a winning margin of around 12.5%. That's not just a win, it's decisive. It tells us voters are moving past splitting their votes. They're looking for a clear mandate.
But wait, there is a huge piece of the puzzle we're missing. A ghost in the machine, if you will. The Naga People's Front, the NPF, a massive historical force in Naga politics, simply wasn't on the ballot in 2023. They didn't field a candidate. That's not a small detail, it's a game changer. It created a political vacuum, and all those traditional NPF voters had to go somewhere. If you don't understand this, you can't really understand the 2023 result.
So let's just quickly get our bearings with the dashboard here. We're looking at an electorate of about 20,830 people. Women voters are a huge factor, making up nearly half, around 47%. It's a scheduled tribe reserve seat, so the leadership is local, from the community itself. And on the national map, it falls under the Nagaland East Lok Sabha seat. Simple as that?
You know, as we dive deep into these numbers, it's good to pause for a moment, to remember what this is all really about. At the very foundation of all of this are constitutional values, things like the dignity of every single citizen. That's why this analysis isn't just a game of who's up and who's down. It's about respecting the voter's voice as an act of informed, responsible speech. Okay, so one election is just a snapshot, right? It's a wave. To really understand the ocean, you need to look at the tide. So let's zoom out, way out, and look at 3 decades of history. And what we find in Thonoknyu isn't a story of loyalty. It's a story of volatility, of restless, constant change. I mean, just look at this roster of winners. NPC, NDM, Congress, NCP, NPEP. It's like a revolving door. No one party, not one, has been able to plant its flag here and keep it flying for long. What does that tell you? It tells me the voters of Thonoknyu are not loyal to a symbol or a color.
They are loyal to their interests. They're willing to change their minds. They're not a captured vote bank. They are, it seems, very discerning voters.
And it's not just the winners that have changed. The whole game is different. Think about it. Before 2018, it was a free-for-all. Multiple candidates, fragmented votes. You could sneak in a win with just 30% of the vote share. But after 2018, everything changed. It's become a direct head-to-head fight, a two-horse race. And now, you don't just need to win. You need a majority. You need more than 50%. The price of victory has gone way, way up. And this chart, this just proves the point. The winning margins are completely wild. Look at 2008, a squeaker, less than 6%, a real nail-biter. Then fast forward just a decade to 2018, a 25% landslide. It's a testament to the volatility. When the voters here decide to make a change, they don't whisper, they shout. There are absolutely no safe seats in Thonoknyu. So, we have this volatile history. We have the NPF's absence in the last election. That sets the stage for a strategic assessment. So let's ask the question. If a party like the NPF wanted to get back in the game here, what would they be up against? What are the core strengths and vulnerabilities? For them or for anyone, really?
A simple SWOT analysis really lays it all out. Strengths, of course. A party like the NPF has an established brand, it resonates with Naga identity, and it has seasoned leaders. But the weaknesses, they're serious. Sitting out the 2023 election left a huge void, and now they have to fight the perception that they're no longer in the game. What about opportunities? Huge. There's real frustration on the ground. Anti-incumbency, that youth unemployment issue, a promise of clean funds could be a game changer. But then, the threats. You can't ignore the power of the ruling parties, the risk of vote splitting, and of course, misinformation. It's a very, very complex chessboard.
Okay, so analysis is one thing, but a plan, a blueprint for action, that's something else entirely. So let's move from diagnosis to prescription. Based on all this data, what would a real plan to win back the people's trust actually look like? Let me introduce a concept, a four-phase strategy we can call the Chaturmukha Doctrine. It's built on 4 pillars, and the key is they all have to stand together. 1, socioeconomic development you can see and touch. 2, a powerful positive narrative built on trust. 3, real solidarity with the cultural and tribal fabric of the community. And 4, the hard, disciplined work of organizational mobilization on the ground. You can't have one without the others.
And the whole philosophy behind this is simple but profound. This isn't about just getting votes. It's not about aggregating noise. It's about earning trust. And how do you do that? You deliver tangible progress. Fix the roads. Make the schools better. You build your story not on tearing down your opponent, but on a positive vision for what's possible. You show deep, genuine respect for the culture, for the village elders, for the church. And you build an organization that doesn't just talk, it listens. It serves. See how they all link together?
Right. A great strategy on paper is worthless if it stays on paper. So let's get practical. How do you take this 4-faced doctrine and turn it into a disciplined, real-world plan of action? Let's map out the road from here to Election Day. This is what it could look like, a 90-day countdown, a disciplined march. You start at D-90, and you don't start with shouting from a stage. You start by listening. Relaunch your presence and go on intensive listening tours. Then, at D-60, you hit the accelerator on outreach. Specialized teams for youth, for women, for farmers. At D-30, that's when you go big, the high-visibility campaign blitz. And then, on day 0, it's all about that quiet, disciplined, respectful work of getting out the vote. It's a step-by-step climb. And let's be very clear about something. All this talk of outreach, of getting out the vote, it all rests on one non-negotiable principle: respect for voter privacy and consent. This isn't just about following India's data protection laws. It's a moral line. It's about making sure our politics is a respectful conversation, not an unwanted intrusion. It comes back to that core value, upholding the dignity of every citizen. So, after all this, what's the bottom line? The data tells a very clear story. The people of Thonoknyu are paying attention. They're smart. And their history shows again and again that they are more than ready for change. So the real question isn't if change is coming. The real question is, who is going to step up and build the credible, people-first roadmap to actually deliver that change? If you want to become a people-centric leader and uplift your constituency, get in touch with blueprintstrategies.ai at mgr@blueprintstrategies.ai or call 080-4204-1602. Purpose beyond politics.